Prosperity Stock Report delivers you digital insight. Digital insight into what's happening behind the scenes with Canada's most promising publicly traded companies, exciting startups, and the deal makers that keep stock markets flowing. Money. So get ready for our next unscripted interview. Now, here's your host, Derek Ivany.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Today's guest is Andre Itwaru, CEO of First Global Data. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Yes, Derek. Thanks very much.
Did you just get back from Asia? Was it yesterday?
Yes, I actually got back on Sunday evening.
Well, then I feel pretty privileged to be the first guy to get to talk to you.
Well, it's great to talk to you again. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
Did you get to try any Hakka or any spicy food over there in Asia?
No Hakka, but you know what? The food was really good. It was actually China that I went to, and I went to 3 different cities, and the food was great in all 3 cities.
And what cities did you visit?
I visited Shanghai first, then we went to Hangzhou, and then to Beijing.
And those cities are blowing up, eh?
Wow. You know what? I was totally impressed because of the infrastructure is incredible. We took the bullet train from Shanghai to Hangzhou, and it was incredible. The infrastructure there is again, use the word incredible, and the business side of things is really exploding on the payment side, and you know, it was great to be there.
And speaking of that, I read somewhere that PayPal acquired that Zoom a while ago, and one of their biggest markets was actually China. So that's pretty interesting. It seems like there's a lot of things heating up in the fintech space in China.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't forget, Alibaba purchased MoneyGram also. So there's a lot of movement. And there's a lot of interest for First Global also because of some of the assets that we have and our ability to, you know, do cross-border payments and things like that. So I think that this is why some of these companies wanted to meet with us. Right.
And circling back before we get into the whole story, we had that lunch a few weeks ago, and thank you for the espresso. You mentioned that. So when you got into the business, I said, wow, you pretty much have a real successful family in the world of tech. And you said something along the lines that I think your father was a professor.
Yeah, my father is a professor at the University of Toronto, yes.
The entire Itwaru bloodline are, I guess, tech titans now.
Well, no, my father's not a tech. He's an academic. He teaches. He's got a PhD in sociology, so he's not really in the tech space. But you know, we got some good discipline from him, so it's all good.
And your brother has had a successful run with his company, Peaks. Were you part of Peaks?
Yes. No, I was not. No. I can't take. I can take zero credit for that. It's all him. He's done a wonderful job there. So,
where's your background before you got it with First Global? Where did you start?
Oh, well, I started in my career in technology, also with telecom. I worked for what was called the telecom company was called in Canada in those days CNCP Telecommunications, and it evolved into a company called Unitel, and then it became AT&T Canada, and then now it's called Allstream. Right. So I've got a lot of background in telecom. That's where I started off, and you know, I left telecom and went over to be a founder along with my brother in a company called Navajo Networks. And in those days, we became one of the top 5 payment processors for the gaming space when it was legal. When it became illegal, we got out of it, of course.
I have a similar relationship with a gentleman that's now on my advisory team and vice president of my marketing, where he worked with one of the biggest online casinos in the world and built that to a multi-billion-dollar business. But he left prior to the U.S. cracking down on all that kind of stuff. So I totally understand that. And working with Navajo, I believe I read somewhere that's where you got your initial expertise in understanding regulated markets and regulated environments.
Good question. Yeah. So what happened was, because of that experience, when we were literally about to take the company public, and the rules changed. So that was a lesson to be learned for me. And I thought, okay, well, the next time I get into my next business venture, I want to make sure that that venture is kind of solid in terms of regulations and regulatory. So we entered into this sector where one of the first things we did was look to get licensed so that we can provide the services and we can sort of predict the future in terms of having that solid foundation of regulatory compliance.
And when you talk regulatory compliance, I'm assuming you're referring to like ATF, AML, KYC?
That's exactly it, yeah.
You have this expertise in regulatory environments, and then you transition into obviously leveraging that into licenses and adopting the technology that you've learned over the years. Mm-hmm. Now you basically have a digital ecosystem, which is First Global Data.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I read the other day that the fintech sector is now a $1 trillion business. And, if you compare that to oil and gas, which is a $1.7 trillion global business, that's pretty impressive. That's a huge industry.
Yeah, I think that the estimates on the size of the sector are probably they're underestimated, because I truly believe that the fintech space is much larger than $1 trillion, because one of the companies we met with in China, as an example, over a period of 7 days in Chinese New Year, they processed for payment processing domestically within China, they processed $800 billion local dollars there in transactions. So I think that the fintech sector is a lot larger than we all sort of see. There's a lot more to it.
That's impressive. When we talk fintech, how's the crypto world over there? Is there a big market for the cryptocurrencies?
That's a good question. So basically what happened was 1 month before we arrived in China, the government had actually made a statement encouraging businesses and banks to start looking at blockchain and cryptocurrency. So, there's a strong movement in that part of the world to start educating themselves about it, because they believe it's an eventuality, and we've got the same dynamic happening in India also, right? So I think that those emerging markets, so to speak, are taking the lead in embracing the blockchain and cryptocurrencies.
I was reading the other day about a company called M-Pesa in Kenya. I was astounded when I saw the revenue these guys are doing. So is that a good comparable to what First Global Data is?
You know what? It's one of the barometers, so to speak. M-Pesa was doing mobile payments through text messaging a long time ago. They were one of the first players in the market. So they've got a good, solid base. They're primarily based in Kenya. So they've got some limitations in terms of how they offer their services, but they are a leader in the sector right now, and they're a company to watch. Yes, they are a good indicator of what's going on. Our approach is a little bit different, because we're not just in the remittance space, but we're also in the mobile pure payment space also.
I read the PR about the trip in China. It sounded like it was highly successful. So what kind of company did you meet with over there?
Well, I got to tell you, I can't mention the names of the company specifically because we are under NDA. We did make significant headway, and we'll publish some news about that, pretty in the near future. But the types of companies we met with two of the largest payment processors or payments companies in China. They're actually number one and number three, arguably number three. So they're either number 3 or number 4, but they're in the top 4 anyway. They were extremely interested to meet with us. The number one player, we had a meeting with them one day, and they asked us to clear our schedule the next day so that they can have a subsequent meeting with us. The reception was incredible. Both of those companies are fascinated with our ability to do the cross-border transactions, coupled with the mobile technology that we have. So there's a tremendous amount of interest, and it was a very warm welcome and reception with those companies. We met with some other companies also that have some interest in potentially funding First Global. So we met with a variety of different organizations in China.
And how was the app received over there? Did they like the app?
Oh, they love it because it's mobile payment is understood in China. It's well understood. So you've got some of the world's largest companies out there like Alibaba that sort of have blazed the trail, but it's still a massive market, and there's a need for our services domestically in China, and also to help to facilitate cross-border payments.
And you mentioned that there may be some finance interest. I know a couple of months you did a financing, a debt conversion at 10 with 20-cent warrants. And more recently, you announced a $5 million financing at 50 cents with 80-cent warrants, which is a drastic leap from there. So I guess you're cleaning up the balance sheet and whatnot. Is the goal to put together some working capital, or do you have any bigger goals in mind?
Well, so over the course of this year, we'll be systematically cleaning up the balance sheet even more so. So that's part of it. This money that came in, or that's coming in this round, is actually really strategic money. It is a limited amount right now because at the end of the day, there's no urgent need for capital in the business right now. This is once again more strategic than anything else. We will, actually those monies will be used to help us to accelerate some of the business opportunities and close them off quicker, so that the funds will be used well, and they'll be used to be driving additional revenues for the company. So that's kind of where things stand with that.
Well, there's a lot of stuff going on right now. Typically, I talk to companies that have a plan in mind. Everybody's waiting for things to execute, but you're actually doing it now. And everybody's part of this growth as it's happening. And, things are happening very fast.
a lot of people make that observation, but there's been a few years of effort being put into this, and I think that what we're seeing now is the benefit of all the prior year of lining up business opportunities, really mining them, and establishing some respect for the company, strengthening the mobile product and things like that. So what we're seeing now is really, you're right, it's all deployment, it's aggressive movement, because a lot of some of the hard work was already done in the past. So that's the benefit now, is that it's deployment. That's what we're focused on.
Fintech is massive right now. It's disrupting traditional banking. What do you see the game plan for China being? Is it going to be payments and remittance like what you're doing in India? Is there more to it? Would it be payments, remittance as well? Because that's a sensitive area, remittance, in that country.
So basically what it is we're doing local deployments of the mobile technology in different countries. And so what basically the objective of First Global is to have the world's first, or one of the world's first, portable mobile, interoperable mobile wallets. So if somebody uses or downloads a wallet in India, they should be able to travel to Canada, do a foreign exchange on it, on the currency that's in the wallet, shop and spend in Canada. And if they decide they want to go to Mexico, and because it's too cold in Canada, for example, then they should be able to get on a plane, fly down to Mexico, convert the currency to Mexican peso, shop and spend, and then if they run out of money on the mobile wallet, they should be able to reach back to their accounts, reload, and shop and spend and travel. So that's the end objective of our company, and that's why we are doing what we're doing right now. So the licenses that we have helps to facilitate some of that cross-border capability. And it's not just remittances as a pure or a pure product of remittances, it's more international payments. That's really what we're looking at.
And it's not easy getting these kind of licenses.
No, it's actually very difficult. There's some large players in China that have attempted to get licensed in the U.S., for example. It is difficult. We're proud, to have the licenses that we have. We're doing everything in our power to grow more. Our objective this year is to have all 50 state licenses in the U.S., and then we're also looking at different geographies around the world to become licensed. So we're actively moving on some of those initiatives. We believe that licensing is a foundation that allows us to have a tremendous amount of capabilities in the future.
How's the deployment going in India?
That deployment is going really well. We're still seeing really, really great customer acquisition and transaction growth. We're working on additional deployments as we speak. So we'll publish some of that progress a little bit later. And I think that everyone will start to understand that we're not just there's more to First Global in terms of what we have to offer domestically within India, as an example, where we're going to have multiple partners, and then on the cross-border side and internationally.
VPay Quick and Google Play has been blowing up. I think you're over 100,000 downloads in mid-January. Where are you now?
I don't know the exact numbers, to be honest with you. I've been traveling, so I don't know exactly where we are, but then the adoption has been really good. We were experiencing about 22% week-over-week growth in new customers and downloads, and about a 20% increase in new transactions. So, that's a good barometer in terms of where we're going. We will at some point start publishing some of those metrics.
Excellent. I look forward to that. You announced also in the last month or so, or a couple of weeks, some different JVs in India. How does that work when it comes to deploying the solution? Is there a revenue sharing agreement with the banks and you guys, or how does First Global Data make money? Yeah,
so what I can do is I can talk about something that's live right now. So let's take Vijaya Bank. That's a bank with about 14 million consumers. Yes, there's a revenue share. First Global brings certain value to the table. The bank brings certain value to the table. We work together, and then we share revenues 50-50.
And if there's a problem, say, somebody says they didn't receive their money or something like that, who handles that?
Yeah, so basically the outreach, the direct outreach to the client in India comes directly to the bank. So the bank sort of feels that on the front end. If it's a system-related issue or some sort of technical element of an issue that caused the problem, then we would get involved. But the front line really is with the clients of the bank.
Right. So you basically handle the tech side; they handle all the business administration.
Yeah. I mean, that's a perfect summary because we are a fintech company. We're a technology company. We provide technology services through a partnership model. We don't sell software, right? So that's the value that we bring. And so, yes, you're bang on with that.
You have the Pay Quick there. Are there any other customers using your technology and maybe OEMing it or, using the background?
Well, I can tell you the ones that we've announced. I mean, so we've got Hidasi Telecom that we're deploying in Ethiopia. But I can also tell you that there are additional banks that will be taking on the platform. I can tell you that there are additional deployments in different countries in South America and other ones that we are working on right now. So just generally speaking, I can tell you that there are multiple instances and deployments that we're working on, and when we get to a point where they're real, then we will announce them. But safe to say that, yeah, there are multiple deployments that are happening, domestically in India, outside of India, and elsewhere.
You can OEM your technology. Somebody else could put their brand on top of it, and you make money in the process while they're going out there marketing it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair summary. I mean, so we don't sell the software. So what we do is we come to the partnership and we operate the software. We don't give away our IP or our source code or anything like that. And our partners appreciate that. I mean, we provide that operational support for them on the technology side, and then they take care of the customer acquisition and the marketing.
I read something in The Economist a while back about fintech. I guess the way it was summarized, it was summarized as a penny here and a penny there. I'm assuming that's how money's made in this business.
Yeah, I mean, so I look at our mobile payment service, right? And we have multiple, services that a customer can use on the mobile app, and each one of them is a revenue driver. So I look at our world of fintech, where First Global is, as a pure revenue generation model. We bring value to the consumer, we bring value to our partners, and it's all about revenue. So this is a pure play revenue app. It generates revenue every time somebody uses it.
Is one of the biggest value propositions here when you're dealing with, say I'm in a random country somewhere and I want to deploy a solution like this, I come to you guys. Is that banking license really key to this, where it prevents your average Joe from putting together a solution like this?
Yeah. I mean, so you're absolutely right. So the licenses that we have are critical. I mean, a lot of the interest that we saw in China was based around the fact that we do have licenses that we were able to facilitate cross-border payments in compliance with the law. And because they're difficult to get, that's somewhat of a barrier to entry. It is difficult to get. So yeah, I would say that they're of huge value.
As a CEO of another public company and understanding disclosure and things of that nature, I know it's sensitive to talk about certain things, but when I look at some of the other deals that have happened on the street in this particular space, when you have not only the technology, but I'd say more so these banking licenses and established relationships in various countries, you have to assume that you're going to become a potential target for other big players. Like when you look at PayPal buying companies like Zoom, for instance, one would think PayPal doesn't need to buy any other companies. Look how big they are. They can build whatever they want. Is it fair to say that you guys could potentially be a takeover target?
Yeah, I think that would be fair to say, because I mean, any company that's growing the way First Global is, and we're starting to get exposure and recognition now, I believe that we're at the early stages. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, sure enough, I think that there will be companies that'll be very interested in First Global. We've even had some overtures already. But in my opinion, we're grossly undervalued. That's my personal opinion. And I think that we have quite a way to go to really establish the value that we have in the company. So I think that there's a lot of good runway. At some point, there will be interest, I would suspect. We're always open to that. But I think that we still have a lot of runway left to go in terms of building the value in this company. And we've got some great opportunities to build value. So not overly interested in an acquisition right now or being acquired.
I totally understand that, but it seems like, things are moving quickly. And I think in December, you disclosed $2.9 million in revenue, 10 times higher than your run rate from Q3. It's not often that you find a company that is in its infancy like you guys that are already profitable. That's a pretty remarkable achievement.
Thank you for that. I mean, I appreciate that. I think that we're, I'm not really sure how to answer that. I think that's, we're very driven on profit and, revenues and profit, right? So I think that that's just indicative of our mindset. We want to run a good business. We want to be a responsible sort of corporate citizen in terms of bringing value back to the shareholders. And that's a fact. Everything that we've done kind of is focused at that.
I guess to elaborate more on the question, the growth in revenue, would you say, is it a seasonal spike in things, or is this a pace that you assume that will continue?
Well, I think that I believe that just based on what we have lined up and some of the business that we know is coming in, that it's, as I said in the press release, it's a barometer of what's coming in the future.
Right.
I think that those results are a really strong barometer. I feel really good about that because, again, the business pipeline is full. There's a lot of business that we're actually implementing right now, and we will see the benefit of those revenues kicking in. That goes without saying. So, again, I'll just go back to this the barometer line, which is, I think it's a very good barometer in terms of where the company will be.
And in terms of barometers, I think people in the public markets, they look at things to use as a measurement to come up with their idea of what the next catalyst is and things of that nature. For you guys, I'm assuming the key barometer would be the average revenue per user. When you look at companies like Facebook and stuff like that, you see that Facebook globally, I think they're making about $1 a user or something like that in Asia. And I know that I think we're referenced out there making a comment how your revenue model per user is higher than Facebook. How does that line up?
Well, I'll tell you, based on our experience, we see that our users will generate an average of $280 per year. So that's how we see the value of our consumers. I mean, again, remember, when they tap on any one of those mobile services within our app, it drives revenue, right? So again, they're coming onto our mobile app to pay for something or to use it for a service that's convenient, and it comes with a fee. So in every case, we generate revenues, and in some cases, it's not directly from the consumer, but it's from our service providers, like the telecom companies that are the beneficiaries of the mobile top-ups and things like that. So the value of the fintech user, as we've experienced it, is considerable as compared with a social networking company.
If the revenue per user annually is $280, say, does that mean $140 would go to you guys and $140 would go to the bank or the OEM client, and then you take the splits from there?
Yes, that's our standard model. So basically, again, if you look at some of the other companies that are in the sector, there's one that's very large in India right now that's funded by Alibaba. And, they've raised $760 million. They spent $500 million on customer acquisition. It's an interesting model. So when you look at the amount of revenue share that we're going to provide to our partners, it actually lowers that upfront capital that we need to deploy to acquire a customer, right? So the revenue share that we're providing to the partner is more than valuable to us.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's allowing us to not only acquire the customer, but to also to retain them and also to drive additional revenue from them through marketing, right? So I think for that amount of money that where our partners are getting, they're providing tremendous value to our company.
Right. And do you guys have preliminary data that substantiates these ARPUs per user?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, these numbers were driven from some of the experience that we're seeing right now. So yes, we do see that.
In terms of FGDs, what are the main countries that you plan on growing the technology and trying to expand in?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So obviously we've got China on the radar because of we were invited to go. We see a lot of interest. So we think that China is going to be an important one. The Asia Pacific region, generally speaking, is a critical sector for our critical geography for us. And we've got plans to expand significantly in that region. Obviously, India, we're going to continue to develop, because we are really at the starting point in India right now. And the reputation of First Global is getting out there now, and I think we're seeing a lot more demand from a lot of different organizations. So that's important. Our personal objective also is to really deploy into North America also this year. So you'll see deployments happening in Canada and the US. That will happen in 2017. I can't talk about specific timelines right now, but I do believe that we're pretty well positioned to do that deployment in North America. And some other places, but the key ones are when we can demonstrate to the world that we are able to deploy services on an international basis. I think that's when our strategy gets validated. So, China's, just to summarize, China's an important market, but the Asia Pacific region generally is important. We'll continue to expand in India, and then North America is a serious target for us also.
Right. And I've spent time in Vietnam. I've done various projects there. From my experience, I know that the remittance business there is billions of dollars. It's absolutely massive, just that country alone, let alone the Philippines and countries within the Asia Pacific. There's significant potential there. I totally agree. And I think that's an amazing strategy. Now, aside from obviously the payments, the remittance, the integrations with, buying anything from movie theater tickets to even airline tickets, when it comes to building the audience, the user base on these apps, do you have control of the list of the clients that are using the apps? Going back to looking at Facebook and how their revenue per user works out, it's actually mostly based on ads. And there's a small amount, based on actually payments. Now, obviously, you probably see where I'm going with this. Does that mean that you guys may even have advertising potential from these apps?
Yeah, I was just going to say, good observation, because our business model is sort of flipped around the other way, where we derive the bulk of our revenues from transaction volumes and payments. Yes, there is a component of advertising that we could include in that, but we have not embarked on that at all yet. We do, that's another phase coming. And I think you make an excellent observation, because that's something that we have been in discussion with some of our partners that we've already deployed with. And I think that that's a natural next step for us.
I think that's amazing. That's just more things to look forward to in the future here.
Yeah.
One interesting thing that I've also noticed in developing economies, when it comes to a lot of these countries, Asia Pacific, even Asia, whether it be India or China, there's a lack of data on individuals' spending habits and what they do. A lot of these technologies are obviously new, even traditional banking, getting mortgages, things of that nature, very high interest rates. As you build relationships with these clients and you're able to track what they're doing, would you not be able to run some sort of algorithm and essentially establish your own credit rating on these individuals and therefore open up another business to being a big data provider?
Something, Derek, this is incredible. So, it's almost like you know what we have sort of in mind. I'll tell you, one of the next things that's coming, you'll see that there'll be an alignment with that'll enable First Global to do a significant amount of analytics or data mining.
Right.
We will know the customers' spending patterns. We'll have a good idea of a credit profile of some of these clients that we can create. We do intend to do something with that, as I can't disclose what the plans are, but there are definite plans in terms of how to leverage that and how to monetize that also. So you're absolutely right. I think that when we do the next interview, I might be able to tell you a little bit more.
Well, I am a shareholder, out of full disclosure, and I do have a background in cryptocurrencies. I have developed some of the originating platforms in the public marketplace, which I've subsequently sold. I'm obviously passionate about the space, but more so I'm passionate about your company and what you're doing, because you're absolutely remarkable with what you're doing right now. The fact that you're executing the deal flow, you guys you're on fire right now. So it's important for me to try to research and understand what's going on, and any value I could potentially bring aside from a podcast for my subscribers. I obviously want FG to be a tremendous success. It's already a success. I think our portfolio, our initial feature, it's up over 150%. So,
Wow.
Things are remarkable, but like you've mentioned, it's in its infancy still. This is just the beginning. I don't think we've started yet. So that's what's the most exciting thing. And I think my audience is tremendously excited, because I've gotten a lot of feedback on it. A lot of people asking, how did you find this opportunity? And I'd like to thank one of the gentlemen that both of us know that put this together for us. You guys are doing a great job. So thanks for obviously being a part of my podcast and more so giving us the opportunity to actually be able to feature this.
Well, Derek, I got to thank you so much. I mean, those are very kind words. We haven't done it without help, obviously. I mean, we've got a lot of good people around us, and I think some of those good people, and there's more. I'm very happy with some of the confidence that some of our investors and shareholders have shown in us. And I think that, one of the major motivating factors is that we don't disappoint, right? I mean, we're trying very hard. We're running a business, so nothing is going to be perfect. But at the end of the day, the upward trend or the continuous upward trend is what we look for. And I think that from my perspective, we feel pretty confident about that. Again, we've been fortunate enough to have a lot of good support. So, I thank everyone that's listening for all the support that you've shown in us.
Excellent. I appreciate that, Andre. And for our users who may be coming into the story a bit late, what are some of the things to look forward to this year, and can we expect some audited numbers on the Q4 that's coming up and anything like that? Mm-hmm. So any catalysts that I can give to users?
Yeah. The audited financial statement should be out at the end of April, because it's a normal cycle with TSX venture companies. Mm-hmm. It's a little long for me, because I'd like to share, our results a little bit more effectively with our shareholders, a little earlier, but we have to go through the process. So I think what'll come out of that is a fairly healthy company. We've turned the corner in a very significant way where, we've passed the inflection point. We're really starting to rise now. I still think that we're grossly undervalued, to be honest with you. I really do, especially if you look at the comparables or comparatives out there in the industry. For a company that's continuing to focus on profitability, I think that's a good thing. That a fintech company can be profitable. I think we'd like to continue to demonstrate that to the world. That a fintech company can be profitable. I don't. Again, our philosophy is not to spend a lot of money to acquire a lot of customers, but rather to go the strategic route and partnership route, because it'll bring good benefit to the company, good revenues, solid margins, and things like that. So, at the end of the day, for First Global this year, what you'll see is an aggressive approach to improving the balance sheet even more so by eliminating some of the debt. We've got significant revenue opportunity and upside that I think that we'll start to realize, and the profit margins will be there because at the end of the day, our mobile payment service is a very high profit margin business. So I think that as you're looking into First Global for 2017, the real main thing is to see a company that continues to grow very methodically, very regimented, and with real solid business. So that's the key.
So I'm actually heading to Europe tomorrow, but when I do return, when you do have some time, because I'm sure you're probably the busiest guy in the TSX venture right now, I hope that you and I one day could enjoy a nice plate of some pepper pot.
You know what? I'd love to have a plate of that with you. Absolutely.
That'd be great. I like the spice. So I had an interview the other day with Dan Blundell from 901. And, when I first met Dan, me and him had some Szechuan chilies. And some of the other guys at the table, I don't even think they could breathe from how spicy it was. But that's our thing. So I know you're part of that.
I'll go for that too.
All right. Well, I look forward to that. I really appreciate your time. I'm honored to be able to be the first guy to have an interview with you from your recent successes in Asia, or particularly China. You have our full support. If there's anything that you need from us, you know where to reach us.
Yes. And thank you. I'm honored to be on your program also. It's great to know you also. And I really appreciate the support. We'll keep plugging away and trying our best.
Awesome. Okay, Andre, take care.
You too, Derek. Enjoy your trip in Europe.
Thank you, sir. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to our show. For more information on First Data Global and how they are taking the fintech market by storm, you can visit their website at www.firstglobaldata.com. First Global Data is traded on the TSX Venture Exchange under stock symbol FGD. For our American audience, the ticker symbol is FGBDF. And for our European audience looking for a quote on the Frankfurt Stock Exchange, the stock quote is 1GF.
Do you like our show? Are you interested in learning more about our top stock picks? Visit us on the web at prosperitystockreport.com, where you can join our free small cap newsletter and track our real-time portfolio live and discover how we continue to crush the street and the competition. Experience why we're one of Canada's most successful microcap newsletters today.